Hi guys, more trade reviews this week. I don't know if I'm starting to crack it, but I've had 3 green trades in a row. Each trade has had a best sell of over 30% and each trade has had an average gain of over 15%. I'm going to briefly go through each one. 2 of them were day 2 gappers and the third was a multi-day runner that was gapping up on day 4. I am still paper trading at the moment while I'm learning, building experience and building my confidence. So let's get to the charts. So just a reminder that I'm always trading low float stocks. So they are stocks that are under 10 million on the float. And I'm trading penny stocks, so generally stocks that are under $10. So the first ticker I'm going to look at is BON. This was the day 1 gapper and it came up on my scan. And this is the 1 minute chart over here, and I must have seen it somewhere within this minute, and it was up over 600% on my scanner, so a massive move. And there was really nothing for me to do with that because it's such a big move. There was no way to play that I know of. And if I have a quick look on the daily chart over here, the day before it closed, this day here, so it's 73 cents roughly, and this is the day that I played it. So it'd gone from 72 cents, and that minute it had gone up to $11. So at that highest point it's up about 1,500% or something like that. So ridiculous move. And wasn't even thinking about doing anything with that. And it's only when I saw it later in the day, because it was on my scan, and I could see it had come down all the way back down to this like 160 level, 150. So that got my attention. I was like, how can a stock be at like $11, like, in 15 minutes ago or whatever it was, and then come back down to, 150s. So I started to have a quick look at it. Sorry, there's a fly flying around. And I could see it coming down. Well, it was holding this level here, 150s level, which is a very key area, being a $0.50 mark. Had a quick look at the daily chart over here, and it didn't have that many recent high volume days before it's done this reverse split here. So, but what I could see is the day before this day here, it done 20 million volume. That's pretty high volume in comparison to other days that it's had. So that was literally the day before, and it had topped out the day before at literally like 150, 151. So that was very key for me. So the day before it's moved on high volume, it's had resistance at 150s. It's now had this massive push in the morning, and it's coming back down and holding that 150 level. So that's probably a good area to risk from. So I'd put my risk there at 150s. Maybe I'd probably actually, even though I've drawn the line there, I think I'd put my stop a little bit under that, just to allow a little bit of wiggle room. So I'd probably put it at 150. I don't know, I can't remember what I put it at, maybe 143, something like that. Although you can't actually get stopped out pre-market, so maybe it was at 150, can't really remember. So I had time to look at it and could see it bouncing off that line, holding that line throughout all the pre-market. And so I decided that I wanted to get in there because my areas of concern were, this is a Chinese stock, which they can be a bit sketchy at times, and also it's had this massive spike, massive pullback within the space of like 15 minutes, so from $11 down to 150. So I was sort of seeing that as I'm not sure how crazy this stock is, like, is this a bit risky getting involved here? But also seeing this spike as a really good thing, as it's gone up there, it's come all the way back down. Surely this is going to have a bounce, and it's actually formed a base as well. So I quite liked the big spike, but it also did add to my hesitancy. So yeah, I entered 159, and that's right, I did have a stop. I did have a stop at the 150 mark. And what I didn't realise is that in pre-market, your stops won't actually execute. So it broke my risk here. And if my stop was actually live, it would have actually broken my risk. So I did get a little bit lucky that my stop wasn't live. Having said that, I probably would have re-entered when I saw it reclaim that level. That was my thinking anyway. So if it broke my risk of 150, but it couldn't convincingly break it and then came back up, I would have re-entered. I think I would have, but who knows in the moment. So yeah, I was in the trade there, and then market opened. What I was also seeing on the daily chart is that the day before, it had actually opened and had this spike before pulling back. So if we just quickly go to the day before, where it moved on quite high volume, when the market opened, it had this spike up from wherever it was, 80s up to 150s where it topped out. So I was thinking this could move in the same way, have a morning spike before pulling back, especially with this pre-market massive move. So market opens, had a nice push out the gate, but along this way it was halting up. So it was the price was halting for about 5 minutes, and then it was reopening and sort of having these jolty moves up. And it's my first experience of being in a halt. And I know this is a paper trade, but I was a little bit tense, like I knew what was going on, but I didn't know how the price would react to that. But also a little bit of excitement because I knew it had that massive morning spike, and that was halting, like this could just keep halting up. So yeah, bit excited, a little bit nervous at the same time. You can actually, if you're ever in a halt, I didn't realise this, go on to like NASDAQ halts, just Google NASDAQ halts, and it will show you all the halts that are going on. So it brought up this, and then you can see the time that it halted, the time that it resumes. So if it does another halt, it's probably going to be the same time frame. So if it halts for 5 minutes and halts again, it's probably going to be another 5 minutes before the price comes back on. So somebody mentioned that to me in my Roland Wolf community, which was quite helpful. So I sold a piece at 178 it was, which it was quite early, but I was trying to get a piece off straight away just to just bank a little bit of money. And also I was still a bit concerned about this big spike and big dump. And also the halting as well was like, if I don't sell, it's going to halt again. And then, I just kind of wanted to make sure that I was getting filled. So the next sell I had was a nice jump up to 212, and then 217, which is almost that's my almost 40% sell there. So very pleased with that. And then I had another sell at 207 somewhere. So the overall gain on this was 24%, which is, I'm very pleased with that. As we can see, it did go up to about 295. Didn't wait that far, but that's okay. And my profit targets as well. So I'd had it at 182, which is just crossing this level here. I've just basically chosen levels of resistance from the pre-market data. Nothing too crazy. And I'm really happy with that trade. So the next one, which is also a day one gapper, so there will be similarities in this, is SAG. So I'll start with the daily chart over here. this is the day that I played it, which is the 20th of March 2025, and it had come from this 67-cent range the day before, and the next day it was gapping up. So if I go to the 1 minute chart, so this is the pre-market data for the day that I played it. If we go back a little bit, you can see after hours the day before, it had this, so it closed at about 67 cents. After hours, it had this nice grind up, hit $1, came back down, and then pre-market, it has this big push from about 98 cents up to 159, 160. So that's a really big move for the after hours and then pre-market. So I like that. And then I went back to the daily chart, as I always do, and just had a look at this high volume day here. Wasn't as high. I mean, this was 126 million done in volume, so a lot higher to this day here, which was only 10 million, but it was its most recent high volume day, which was topping out on that day at roughly $1. We can see here that was the resistance level on that day. So going back to the pre-market data, it was then, my idea was, if this pulls back to $1, because it's had that daily resistance at $1 on its previous high volume day, and also this big push up here from, they've got to remember this is coming from the 67-ish cent range. If that pulls back to $1, that's probably going to have a bounce. So my risk was set here. I put it a little bit lower at about 98 cents, and I got in at 103 was the price that I got in over here. So really nice entry. And then, as we can see, it just held that level throughout pre-market. So I'd set my profit targets at 120-ish, just crossing over this level of a bit of resistance there. Also where it's topped out here at 130, where it's had the pre-market highs at 147 as well. So I decided, once it hit my first profit mark, which was around that 120, I actually sold at 119. I decided to take a piece of the pie off, which was great. The market hadn't even opened, so I was really happy with that. And as soon as the market opened, I actually sold again at 119. Had this pullback here, didn't come anywhere close to my risk, which was great, and that's a big green candle, which I shouldn't have sold there, because that's quite a strong move, but I did sell again at 119. I think it went off at, so 3 sells at 119. I then can see this nice grind up. I had another sell at 129. That was probably here. And then a final sell, it went off at 135, which I'm very pleased with. That 135 is over a 30% gain on that part of the trade. As we can see, if I'd have let it go on, it would have hit my final profit mark of 147, but I was all out by 135. And then it just pulled back for the rest of the day, and then broke the risk, reclaimed it, went back up, but I was all out of it by then. The other thing why I liked this trade is it had come from the 67 cent range, and at the moment in the market there's a lot of stocks that are running from that 50-60 cent range they're gapping up and they're coming back down and they're holding $1 and they're pushing off $1, and that's a very popular theme at the moment. Not only that, the other thing on the daily chart where these things are running is where they've had either a recent offering and they're coming down to the 50-cent range and then the stock's getting pumped, or they've had a recent IPO, which this stock has had in October. So it's had the recent IPO, it's pulled back down to that 50-cent range, and now it's having that big gap up and it's holding that $1. So it kind of fit a lot of tick boxes for me. So really happy with that one. And the overall percentage gain on this one was, let me just check, 18%, which I'm pretty happy with that. And then the final one is RGC. Yeah, so this was a stock that had come from, this is the daily chart over here, $4 range. And I played it on day 4. So it's had this big day 1, bit of a sort of consolidation or not much going on day 2, and then this third day surge here. And for me, I wouldn't really be looking for anything else after that, but it was gapping up again on day 4. So if we just go to the daily chart, sorry, the 1 minute chart, let me just quickly check. Yeah, so the day I played it was here. This is the pre-market. So the day before, the after hours, even though it already had it's had its third day surge, after hours, it's still having this big breakout and big push from around about $19, and after hours it's going up to $35. And then pre-market, it's very much holding those gains. So that definitely got my attention. And my understanding is that when stocks are gapping up big and they can pull back to the previous day's highs, that's a potential entry point. Now, the reason I liked this one is because it had those 1, 2, 3 strong days, and now it's having an even bigger push, even bigger move, and it's actually holding that throughout pre-market. So even though it went up to about $35, the previous day high was about 1970 sort of area. So it may not have even come back down though. That's quite a big move there to go up to $35. But I was thinking, if it does come back to yesterday's highs of around 1970, then I'm going to play it off that and risk it off yesterday's high of day. So the market opened and it just had this really nice pullback, and it wasn't like a hard crack either. It was like a bit of a pullback, bit of a push, and like a little grind down. So nothing like too alarming. If it just cracked all the way here, that might be a bit more concerning. So I got in at 20.35 was my entry point. And I know I do normally trade stocks under $10, but this came from the $4 range, so just have to consider where it actually came from. So started out at the sort of penny stock range, and now it's moving into a bit higher territory. So my risk was, I think it was around 1975. And then I got in at 20.35. I didn't wait for it to see how it played out to my risk. I just wanted to get in. I did have a little bit of concern with this one because the volume wasn't massive pre-market and the spread was a little bit bigger than I would have liked. But because it had that big push after hours and it held it pre-market and I could risk off yesterday's high of day, that was good enough for me. So got in at 20.35, nice entry, and then took a fast sell at 22.40, 23.50, and then what else did I do? Just looking at my entries and exits. Then held it through here. So it was quite a long one to play out, actually. It did take quite a long time to actually break out of this level here. And sold another piece at 24, then at 27, and then my best sell was 29, which was over 40% for the 29 sell. Overall gain with all my sales was 17%. And my profit targets, I'll just explain, were here at 24.50ish, where it had this bit of consolidation here. I thought that could act as an area of resistance. Here where it's topped out in that consolidation area at 27ish, and then the market open highs, and I think that's as far as I anticipated it. So my best sell was at 29 at my final profit mark. So I am actually really happy that I did leave some shares on to actually sell and ride it out and actually get my best profit target. As we can see afterwards, the next day it continued on the daily chart to go up and up, but that's fine. I'm just trying to take a part of the move, which was this day here. So I'm really happy with all three of these trades, and just feeling quite positive about them. I am pretty excited by these trades. Not only did I have a good thesis for them, but they actually played out the way I thought they would. I have opened a very small cash account of $150, so I'm hoping to start taking some of my trades, if not all of them, with real money in the next few months, if not weeks, depending on how things go. So a little bit scary, but also exciting to start to think about taking my trading to the next stage. As always, thanks for watching.